Hey guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. My nickname is iFacePalm, and in this episode we're going to take a closer look at the brand new and very first Tier 9 premium tank, the Swedish Strv K, which not only is controversial due to the decision by Wargaming to introduce Tier 9 premium tanks to the game, but also its capability of earning bonds in same way like if you were playing in a Tier 10 vehicle. And of course, during this tank review we'll be looking into whether it's worth picking up from the premium shop, how its tank statistics looks. I will compare its stats against a few other similar Tier 9 premium heavy tanks, including a medium tank, and this will of course be followed up with an extensive armor profile rundown with focus on its weak spots and strength, and afterwards I will take you guys alongside two, not surprisingly, very recent battles, which hopefully will give you guys a good idea of this new Swedish heavy tank in action. And finally I will finish up with an extended sum up and my rating of this new tank. Okay guys, let's get started. So what is the Strv K all about? And maybe strangely enough, in some way I can't stop asking myself what I really think of this brand new introduction of Tier 9 premium tanks, because first of all I have seriously mixed feelings about it, because what about my Tier 8 premium tanks? Did they just become obsolete? But maybe most importantly, what worries me is ironically not what the Strv K brings to the game, but what World of Tanks is very likely going to develop into, as we have seen it happening to Tier 8 premium tanks, where the initial tanks were worse than their tech tree counterparts, and today any Tier 8 premium tank that is introduced to the games is more often than not vastly superior to its tech tree counterparts, unless it's German. And the other thought that I directly got is that there's no way that they're going to power creep the brand new Tier 9 premium tank, due to the risk of the extra heat that Wargaming is going to receive based on the introduction of Tier 9 tanks. And not only that, there is, to be honest, no incentive whatsoever from Wargaming to make this tank any good, because being the very first Tier 9 premium tank is already a very strong selling point to begin with, together with a full team of 0 perk Sabaton crew with the option to pick up the brand new fictional camouflage style, which we just saw. In my personal opinion, this addition was not needed, and questions like what about the matchmaker, which I seen the Wargaming presenters being asked on YouTube, was quite common. This question I can 100% support, but what really can annoy me is the classical reply, it is not our department. Well, then maybe it could be an idea to take a look at that department in the first place, instead of always saying, hey, it's not me, it's the other guy. Personally, I think what is going to happen to World of Tanks is that we are slowly but surely witnessing what is happening to World of Warships. Tier 9 premium ships are a common sight, and lately I saw a Tier 10 premium ship being available for purchase. In my mind, there is no way that Wargaming is not going to take this approach in the future. In the end, they are a business and want to earn money one way or another. So in general, I'm not pleased, but I do understand their strategy to monetize the game. What worries me though is that in a couple of years, then suddenly the Tier 9 tech tree tanks will more or less lose their magic, which they currently have. The only upside that I currently can still see is that the Tier 8 skirmish battles are just limited for Tier 8. Of course, I noticed that during the last frontline, the Tier 9 tanks were introduced for the very first time, and it is very apparent why they were. And the reason was, of course, not to make the frontline more diverse, but yes, you guessed it, to sell more Tier 9 premium tanks. I personally believe that at this current stage, the Tier 8 premium tanks are not going to be obsolete, but I honestly have a hard time not seeing them becoming so in, let's say, 2, 3, 4 or 5 years, because the only change that would be needed is to introduce Tier 9 skirmish battles, which would then more or less completely remove the selling point of the Tier 8 tanks. In the end, my opinion is just that, my opinion. And if I was in Wargaming shoes, I honestly can't say that I would have done it any differently, but at least for me, this change was honestly not needed. Similar to the artillery modification that they probably spent thousands of hours to implement, and in my opinion, they should just have limited the artillery to maximum 1 per game, and not wasting time to optimize and more or less nerfing the artillery mechanics, because for some super enjoyable reason, I'm still often targeted by 3 artillery simultaneously. But hey, it is not their fault. After all, the Wargaming balance team is not a part of their department. Anyhow guys, I could probably keep talking about the subject for hours, but let's of course take a closer look at the tank review that hopefully was the initial interest here. So therefore, the interesting question in some way this time becomes not by how much is this tank overpowered, but more in regards of, is this tank any good at all? Well, let's take a deeper look by doing a quick stats rundown with my current crew and tank setup. Okay guys, let's start out by taking a look at the Sabaton crew, and all of them comes with the 3 Brothers in Arms perk, and afterwards all of the repair skills portray. In general, there's nothing really out of the ordinary regarding my skill sets, besides for the driver, because what I did here is to pay 200 gold and reset his skills, train the off-road driving together with the smooth ride, start the training on clutch braking, and now after I have received plenty of experience, then of course I'm focusing on pairs. And for the equipment, I've selected to go for a gun rammer, anti-rotation mechanism, and a bouncy stabilizer. The alternative setup here would be to go for a turbocharger instead. I'll go into more details why these two options are my preferred ones. For the ammunition, I've selected 24 AP shells, which each are capable of delivering an average damage of 390, together with an average penetration of 252mm in a shell velocity of 1080 meters per second. The alpha damage for a heavy tank attack, it is slightly lower than what you usually see at this tier. It definitely doesn't stand out, and we see similar for the average penetration of 252. So all in all, not bad, but not unique. Luckily, this tank comes with APCR rounds as premium, and here I've selected 21. And this particular change is quite welcome, because 310mm penetration, there's definitely a noticeable difference between these two, together with a quite impressive shell velocity for a heavy tank of 1350 meters per second. So whenever I'm not top tier, which is quite a lot, then I usually do not mind switching over to the APCR rounds, especially if I'm fighting heavy tanks. And last, the tanks comes with high explosive shells, which only offer an average penetration of 53mm for the potential damage of 480. For the consumables, I have selected small repair kit, small first aid kit, and manual fire extinguisher. But the thing is that this setup is for whenever I'm same tier or top tier. And when I'm facing a lot of tier 10 tanks, then I tend to switch over to my second setup, which not only features extra premium shells, but also coffee with cinnamon buns. So we had an average damage of 390, average penetration of 252 for its standard AP rounds, rate of fire 6.19, which translates to a reload time of 9.7 seconds. And it might seem like a fair number, but keep in mind guys that we have a gun rammer fitted to be able to achieve those 2414 damage per minute. And the ironic part is that personally I'm not that big fan of the gun rammer, especially after the equipment 2.0 changes. But for this particular tank, because it has such a low damage per minute, and when you are utilizing this tank as a heavy tank where you're trading shots directly, then I have really found this gun rammer to be a must for this tank. The gun traverse speed 46.12, a gun depression of -10, together with an aiming time of only 2.36 and a dispersion of 0.3. So based on these values, this looks like wow, this must be a super precise and fantastic gun handling tank, even it's a heavy tank. But unfortunately, these numbers are again not telling us the whole truth, because the hidden gun handling statistics, they really remind way too much of the British Centurion 7.1 medium tank. That tank, in my opinion, really has quite horrible gun handling, especially if you compare against some of the better tanks in its tier. And then of course you might be wondering, why is this classified as a heavy tank? Well, the thing is that the hull itself is from the Swedish Emil II heavy tank, and this will become quite apparent very soon, because if we start looking at the HP, then this tank comes with 1850 HP as a base and a hull armor of only 90mm in the front. So even the pike nose looks quite well angled. 90mm for tier 9 vehicle, it just is barely enough to bounce a tier 7 tank, unless of course you are utilizing your 10 degrees of gun depression. The turret arm of 254mm in the front looks definitely interesting, but of course guys, we're going to take a closer look at this in the armor profile rundown. And for the engine power, we had a horsepower per ton of 16.09, top speed 40 and reverse speed of 18 kilometers. This is also why I've been trying out this tank with the other setup here, where I have the turbocharger fitted to achieve those 4 kilometers forward and 2 kilometer reverse. And after playing with this tank quite a lot, then in some way it makes sense and in some way it doesn't, and it's really more like a map and tier dependent. So on a map and a matchmaker that allows me to use this tank as a brawler, then definitely I'm going to go for the gun ram. But in a more slow paced game where I cannot aggressively charge through a flank, then either turbocharger or an improved ventilation could be a viable choice. And when we take a look at the traverse speed, we have 40.98, and in my opinion the most important module for this particular tank is the improved rotation mechanism, because when looking at these figures, this tank might seem, wow, this looks more like a medium tank, but the problem is that it has seriously horrible ground resistance figures. So I can highly recommend your driver to be quite well skilled, because in some way he becomes one of your most important guys for this particular tank. And when we take a look at the fuel modification, then I haven't had the chance yet to grind it fully through, but I already know what I'm going to pick. And for the first one I have selected the all-terrain suspension, and for the next I've chosen parallax adjustment for that extra -3% aiming circle size, due to I tend more to do snapshots with this tank rather than being fully aimed in the majority of scenarios. For the next one I'm going to take the 3% extra view range, and for this option I'm going to go with that extra 2 km/h reverse speed. But keep in mind guys that this setup is very beneficial when you have that super needed rotation mechanism, because if I would not be having the rotation mechanism on this tank, then I would most likely go for that extra gun reverse speed. But personally I'm definitely going to choose that top reverse speed, because that also means that I can use the gun rammer, make it very much easier for me to not pick the turbocharger and go for this option instead. And of course we have the second slot category to either go for mobility or firepower, and here I will be going for gun rammer to receive that extra 1.5% faster reload time. And for the last figures we have camo value of 12.15 when stationary and when moving 7.03%, which is all to expect from a heavy tank. The one and very nice thing of this particular tank is its base view range of 400 meters. Okay guys, let's continue with the stats comparison, because if there's something this tank got, a lot of hidden figures, and unfortunately they do not seem to be for the better. But nevertheless, let's take a look. Okay guys, so here we have the tank comparison where we are going to compare the Strv K against its upper part, the Centurion 7.1, its lower part, the Emil II, and I have selected two other hull down heavy tanks, the Conqueror and iFacePalm. Another tank I have selected to include is the Object 430 medium tank. For the last tank here guys, it is just to make a certain point at the end. So in general we are going to take a look at the 5 tanks on the list. Okay guys, so when we start out by looking at the damage per minute, then the base value of 1950 DPM is definitely the worst in this comparison. And yes, the difference might not seem to be that extreme, especially when we compare against the Conqueror, the Phase 1 and the Centurion. But if you're fighting them in the open, then this DPM advantage will usually tend to give them that extra shot to finish you off before you are given that chance. And this is why in my opinion the gun rammer is quite severely needed on the Strv K. The Emil II takes of course the top spot with 2554, which is a figure in its own league. Yes Object, I have not forgotten about you, but be patient Object. And when we look at the penetration value, 252 as a base, in general it's really not bad, until we take a look at what actually is the normal penetration value for a heavy tank. As the exact same one, strangely enough it's not the gun that as far as I know the Strv K has borrowed. It was from the Centurion, not from the Emil II. So in some way the penetration value should have been the exact same from the Centurion 7.1. Nevertheless, let's take a look at the shell velocity. 1080 meters per second for a standard round. It's definitely in the middle, where the only exception is the Centurion 7.1 with its amazing 1478 meters per second, which is due to that the Centurion 7.1 of course uses APCR as standard. But what happens if we change to the premium rounds? Well, let's take a look. And there we go. And of course the Strv K uses APCR rounds, the Centurion 7.1 uses HESH rounds, the Emil II uses heat rounds, the Conqueror APCR, the iFacePalm heat, and the Object 430 APCR. Yeah, let's make it as confusing as possible. You can definitely see some of the changes directly being visible for us here in the penetration values. But 310mm, it is definitely a nice figure. And when we take a look at the damage, the 390 alpha damage, it is not bad at all, especially if this was a tier 8. But 390 for a tier 9 heavy tank is really in the lower end, because even the Conqueror and the Phase 1 surpasses this. And strangely enough, both the Emil II and the Centurion 7.1. But let's continue to take a look at the gun handling. And here we have an aim time of 2.5 seconds for the Strv K, which to be honest, when we take a look at this comparison, it's not bad, but it definitely doesn't stand out. But when we take a look at dispersion value of 0.34, this looks very impressive and more like in a medium tank category. The Centurion 7.1 is of course better of 0.32, where the Emil II and Phase 1 has a value of 0.38. But do notice that even the Conqueror heavy tanks still have better both the aim time and dispersion. And this doesn't get better when we take a look at the gun handling statistics, because the 0.19 is honestly not very good, alongside a horrible turret traverse of 0.15. And you can quickly see here what in general the unexpected value should be. So yes, when you are fully aimed, the 0.34 looks good, but then again, isn't this tank classified as a heavy tank you can brawl with? This kind of disappears when you are moving your tank, when you're traversing reversing, when you're wiggling it left, right, front, back. And you can directly see here on the Conqueror itself, it is like a light here in front of the Strv K. Luckily though, this tank has a very nice gun depression of 10 degrees, but of course as we are comparing it against some of the other hull down tanks, then this figure is of course just placed in the middle, where the Emil II takes the crown with 12 degrees. Now take a look at the mobility, then we have a forward speed of 40 km/h, which we directly can see here is definitely nothing of the ordinary. Ironically enough, both the Centurion 7.1 and the Emil II has a way better forward speed. And when we take a look at the reverse speed, 18 km, it is quite nice and it is quite significant number. And this 18 km/h, it really matters because this tank is not so super dependent on having that turbocharger for that increase in the reverse speed. And here you can directly see that both the Conqueror and the AA Phase 1 are severely suffering from that low reverse speed. The power to weight ratio of 16.37, it also looks surprisingly good. Places it in the middle between the Centurion 7.1 and Emil II. But where a power to weight ratio of 16.37 can be very good, especially if you have a very low ground resistance, then unfortunately, check this guys. Terrain resistance on hard 162, on medium 175, and resistance on soft 287. That is just utterly horrible. And this also highlights how important it is that you have your crews skilled correctly to remove the ground resistances as much as possible. Because with these values, it is going to be severely hard to achieve this forward speed. And if you already own a Conqueror or a Phase 1, and you maybe feel that they are maybe slightly sluggish, then yeah, think again. The good news is that the Strv K takes the turret traverse from the Centurion 7.1 with the 36 degrees. Tank traverse of 30 degrees, this is the reason for why I personally believe that the rotation mechanism is the single most important module for this particular tank, for both increasing the tank traverse but also making that turret that more nimble. And of course, if you're still not satisfied with that tank traverse speed, then the turbocharger, yes, even doesn't state it in the statistics, yes, the turbocharger will increase your tank traverse. And for the armor and health category, of course we're going to go through these figures very soon in the armor profile rundown, but in general, the 90mm of hull armor is seriously no buena, but the turret armor of 254mm looks very nice, which is similar to the Centurion 7.1 and the Conqueror. Not as good as the AA Phase 1, but before we jump into the armor profile rundown, we have of course the health, the HP pool 1850, and here in some strange way we have more HP than both the Centurion 7.1 and Emil II. Not as much as the Conqueror, but enough to place us nicely in the middle. And for the very last figures, we have the camo figures 6.21 and 3.08, and you can directly see here that the camo values are absolutely nothing out of the ordinary and is fully within its heavy tank category. And last for the view range, 400 meters base, that is amazing because that means that we can very easily get up to those 445 meters with either ventilation, good crew vision skills, and of course the option of running with food. This part here is definitely a big plus, but do still notice that it's not really that supreme, it just feels slightly above average. Okay guys, let's continue with taking a look at the armor profile rundown. Okay guys, so here we have the Strv K, and for this analysis we're going to use its 252mm of penetrating AP shells, and let's take a look at how it looks in its live view. Here we go, and yeah, I'm kind of left with a mixed feeling when looking at this, because the turret armor itself, it should be good, and here we can definitely see on the angle here that the 252mm is definitely going to have a challenge. Yes, it has a small cupola up here, but that can be a challenge to hit as long as you keep your tank mobile. And here next to the turret we have values of around 255mm here in the cheeks, and similar but not identical figures are we seeing on the other side, because here we have again the 255mm, but then it directly starts to increase heavily. And for the gun mantle and the very edges, it all looks amazing, both the left and right side. Besides of course this inner part here with again values of around 255mm, 235, and finishing off with around 250. Similar scenario here on the right side. As you might already have noticed, that the right side, meaning the tank's left side gun mantle, is actually bigger than its right side. So if I'm encountering this tank and I'm not shooting for the cupola or either this part, then I might as well just shoot as close to the turret as possible. The other option of course is to shoot it right underneath the gun mantle, where again we are met with a value of around 254mm. And we can see here in the visual view that that extra space has actually been made to fit the machine gun nest. The 90mm of turret armor, yeah, it's not surprisingly everything is going to go through. For this particular pike nose, together with that 10 degrees of gun depression, yes, it's all about the gun depression. So how is it going to look if we utilize that? Well, let's take a look and let's see how it looks on the 10 degrees. And here we directly see the magic behind those 10 degrees of gun depression, because as long as you're covering the very lower plate of your hull, then the upper hull armor is going to offer you an auto ricochet. And the thing is, you don't even need to utilize this fully, because check this here guys, if we move it slightly until approximately this spot, and here we can see that the gun depression that we're utilizing is around 6 degrees. So as long as you utilize between those 6 to 10 degrees of gun depression, your hull armor seems to be well covered. But of course, what the problem is all of the yellow spots. And yes, the gun metal here should also be just as yellow as the sides. And keep in mind guys, we are only using those 252mm pen, because what happens if we change it to, let's say, 310mm, which is not very uncommon in today's meta, where loads of tier 9, tier 10 tanks are firing, yes, those APCRs. Well, let's see. Yeah, and this is the exact problem of this hull down specialized tank, because when something is specialized to go hull down, then this armor is just like paper. You can directly see here around 96% chance to penetrate it, and here we have around 84-85% chance, and just underneath similar figures. So yes, I know that this tank is classified as a heavy tank. Honestly, yes, there is a small RNG factor here and here, but to be honest, it is not enough. Nevertheless guys, let's see if this tank is capable of side scraping. Let's see how this looks. And of course, we're going to have this problem with the pike nose whenever we try to side scrape, because suddenly this part here becomes extremely thin. But then again, this is a 90mm pike nose, and this armor here is utterly garbage unless you are using it hull down. And we can directly see here, yes, you can side scrape it, but it's definitely going to be a challenge. The good part though is that a lot of the shells will actually become absorbed in the tracks, so that's at least good. But why would I rely on having my hull covered by my tracks to bounce it? When we take a look at the standard 252mm AP rounds, then yeah, similar scenario. But besides that, and this microscopic part, which is right here, yeah, then they might just have covered this whole tank with paper, because the armor, yeah, it's barely enough for a medium tank. Yes, it is classified as a versatile heavy tank, but I can't stop asking myself, versatile at what? Nevertheless, the side armor, then the Strv K features 122mm, 90mm, and finishing up with 115, and for the hull itself around 70mm, but of course with a few exceptions of 130mm, and for the wheels are kind enough to cover our hull. For the rear of the tank, around 90mm, with of course a few exceptions in the far sides to the left and right, 23mm effective armor, and we're finishing up with a thickness of 37mm of impacted armor. Yeah, heavy tank classification? Barely, and that would be for the turret itself. But nevertheless, can we get this working? Well, now let's continue by taking a look at two, of course, not surprisingly, super recent battles I just had in the Strv K. Okay guys, so here we are on Himmelstoff. I'm playing together with Viper, and he's playing his standard B, and of course I'm playing in the Strv K. The good part is we are top tier. And yes, this is a hull down tank. My first thought, let me make that map again a bit bigger. I don't know what's happening with that one. Yeah, my first thought is definitely let's go up to the 0 line. See if I can utilize this depression. This goes a bit slow. But even, yeah, the Borascan standard B has some problems getting up here. As you can see, the list is also overtaking us. So far, no surprises. Keep in mind guys that for this game here I have actually a turbocharger fitted. These close encounters. Yeah, could have gone also for the other one. Ah, it was a bad shot that guy. What is what is that? What is he doing? No, he's definitely not going to go away. Can we get a shot? We should be able to do it. What? Yeah, auto aim. The king. Okay, that was not to be expected. Okay, let's see. I don't know what's happening with the mouse. Let's see. Let's see if the next shot was going to land. That was definitely a bad shot. Wow. Okay, so far not the best, not the best. Oh, this guy's gonna be tricky. He's 75 tiers hull down. And yeah. to get away. We're only behind 2000 HP, and we just started. Do much. Maybe the polar bear, I'm not certain. A bit worried about my right side. How strong are they going to push? Because we have oh, they're pushing, they're pushing. Ah! Maybe. Are they or not? Okay, that combat 07 definitely is. Finally a shell in. Nice, nice, nice. Still some chaos going on here. I'll say the gun. Probably I'm expecting it to more hand like a. My aiming is seriously flawed, more than usual. Nevertheless, we put a shell into him. Took one also. The snap shooting capabilities is definitely not near medium tank. Yeah, another shell into. My recent logout switched to the premium rounds. Just have a there. Yeah, maybe it wasn't needed to fight those premium rounds. The other hand is quite good at having them now. It is going to be tricky. Oh, get this guy in my rear and just push, 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 past him, past him, past him, past him, past him. I should be able to just take him out this way. How much? 145 health, come on. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, my comrade here took out the other attack, that's good. Okay, nice. Wow. Okay guys, I honestly feel I've been playing like a big donkey and we still ended up with 2705 damage. Yeah, I'll definitely have to watch this replay afterwards. Is that even possible? Nevertheless, looks like this is clean. Let's take a look whether we might be able to put some shots into the guys far away. Maybe towards those three guys that are down there. Or maybe? Could we? Pixel shot. Okay, the tricky part is always those three guys down there, because down here, because sometimes you can be lucky if they don't move far away, but like wiggle back and forth to get into tanks sometimes properly down. Looks like we had like 15 degrees counter pressure. That would have been epic. What to do. I think the K91. Yeah, it's moving towards my comrade here. There we go, should make it easier for him to take him out. Looks like he didn't see him. No. That was a bit unfortunate. Okay. Nevertheless, let's see if we can put some shot on this guy. Or maybe the other one. Yeah! Was it? I don't know if that was on purpose, but that was well angled. If that was on purpose, or maybe he got tracked by the other guy. Looked like a quite impressive sudden skid, if you ask me. Still not. Is he going to move or not? Maybe. Oh, now it should be. Yeah. You really need to work for that damage, man. So the fight is long enough, then the guys down there sometimes forget all about you. And yeah, you got a T95 to worry about. Probably would have done the same in his shoes. Then again, I most likely would have already run away. Okay, that was good. We didn't get hit by the skillful arty. And yeah, let's move around. And that's the thing, because if we were in a medium tank, I would most likely have already moved down to help out directly my teammate. But because it's the heavy tank and it's still kind of sluggish, due to its quite horrible ground resistance figures, then I know that it takes me quite a lot of time to reposition. You can see here, so I wouldn't be able to move it as instantly fast as I would in a more nimble medium tank. Now it's not much happening, so it should be possible. Ooh. Okay, 706 damage, we have 26 HP left. I should be able to put a nice round into him. I was hoping for the tracking shot there, but wasn't that good. Okay, I am honestly not certain whether I should peek out or not. Probably could do it, but to be certain, yeah. I have only 26 HP left. Of course, side scrape it, but then again, that gun is big. 152mm. Let's see, do a mistake. Checking. The cap doesn't really make me nervous. You know what? Yeah, you know what? We're going to put. I think we're pretending that we're going away. This is a good one, because this is what you're going to see. It's going to run away as soon as it disappears. Let's see. Was it all the chargers? Yeah. Come on. What the? No. No idea I'm still alive. Come on. You can take him out now. Yeah. Okay. Didn't yeah. I think I forgot to look at the map. What to do? I must say, I have no idea how I managed to absorb that shell, because that was crazy. Anyhow guys, 4,301 damage, 452. Not bad at all. Did I deserve it? Nope. I must say that, especially the beginning, wasn't very good. But let's take another game. Let's see if that hopefully will turn out slightly better. Okay guys, so here we are in Westfield in my Strv K. So for this matchmaker we are mid-tier. I will go for the turbocharger here and go for the more premium setup, because I would definitely expect to encounter some very heavily armed tanks here. The turbo or the gun rammer? Yeah! Really made my choice here in the last seconds. Is that extra reverse speed. Let's see if we can get some use of that. I normally would tend to go slightly to the left of the hill here, but well, let's see if we can maybe get some chances of this spot here. Let's see if this is a good idea or bad idea. I'm sure this will become apparent very soon. Yeah. Just looking, where did he hit me? Okay, an Strv K there, quite aggressive. Yeah, nice. We at least got some damage there. Nope. Oh, that was lucky to take shots from that. Can we put in? Some spotting damage, luckily. It's a bit surprised actually we didn't hit him. Can we put in another? What those guys are. Yeah. Super skilled RC player managed to find his left mouse button and click us. Okay, that was good. Lost quite severe level HP. I don't think this is a good idea. This button. Yeah, I definitely do not think this is a good idea. You know what? I think we should maybe reposition. Run. Artillery is still firing like crazy. I guess that was ours. Let's see if we have a bit more luck over here. HP is not looking that good. We have got surprisingly quite a lot of spotting damage, which is always nice. Just want to keep my intentions to begin with. Based on the map, we should be able to go from the left side here, because I've got good protection, because it doesn't look like they have anything on right in front of us. It's actually quite nice for us. Should be able to jump over to the next hill for cover. Yeah, cost us. Well, at least now we have a strong position. For some reason this guy is not even looking at us. Yeah, one into his lower plate. 306? Wow, that was a low roll. That was low. 392. There we go. Now we are talking. Yeah. Oh, just looking away. Maybe, maybe. Beautiful, beautiful. Artillery. Gosh, so busy, we should be able to give him a shot. Yeah, nice. Hopefully he doesn't look at us now. What's the Jagdpanzer 100 in the front? Can we take him out? Yeah. Good, good, good. Okay, this is going to be a bit tricky. At least I'm happy there's a dead tank right here. Can we put it? That's going to be... yeah. Chance, no chance. Pixel shot. Wow. Amazing, it actually hit. Didn't pen. So, let's go close. What is it? Yeah, 680 HP behind. Looks like the enemy is kinda surrounding us. Or at least want to surround us. If you ask me, the enemy definitely looks to have an advantage as of current. Maybe we can put a shot into the... never mind. Let's see if we can help out. Yeah, that's the thing, because the Guerrilla 15 haven't been spotted. Definitely assume it to be somewhere by E0, B0 or C0. Of course, I don't think he fled uphill. Could of course be the chance, but I also assume them to get spotted quite instantly, to be honest. Unless he completely covered himself in bushes, he can't even look out. That Jagdpanzer looks quite healthy. And neither the IS-7 or the Object 263 looks very healthy. At least the IS-7 has far superior armor than this tank could ever dream of. Okay, looks like he's going full YOLO. I must say that's kinda... it's like a definitely big chance because the Guerrilla should be shooting at him. But... okay, the Guerrilla's away. Okay, let's see if we can put a shot into that. Yeah. Okay. Can we finish him off actually? Not bad. Amazing, the Guerrilla has some... okay, since someone is clicking on the map on... spotted yet. Let's try to take... and not kill myself. Let's see if I... let's see if I can put the global location here on the map. At least can provide support. He was... wow. Okay, that shot was definitely lucky. Nice, what else? 4 kills so far. Not bad, and 3,370 damage and 1,560 spotting. yeah. But you guys... Okay. Well, platoon? Yeah, sure, I will accept that. But guys, you can see that the heavy tank classification in the previous replay we just had, and now it barely makes sense. Because the blocking 880 damage... Oh, can we out-aim this? Ah, can we miss? Maybe I should concentrate on the game rather than talk. But yeah, it's barely enough. It's barely enough. 880, man. 880 blocking. That's quite typical, unfortunately. Well, let's jump to the garage. So, the Strv K, what do I think of it? And most importantly, is it worth picking up from the premium shop or alternatively grinding? Well, the Strv K definitely offers something unique by not only being the very first tier 9 premium tank, it also has the option of outfitting that brand new 3D sci-fi tank skin which we saw in the very beginning of the video, but also the interesting option to earn those 100 bonds per week, similar to a tier 10. But is it any good on the battlefield? And here the answer is a bit tricky, and where to start, because the Strv K, in my opinion, is correctly classified as a versatile heavy tank, because there's nothing really it excels at in regards of being able to do better than anyone else. The Strv K is definitely a ridgeline warrior, and the problem that I have with its heavy tank classification is that it really only feels at home on a ridgeline, because if you are not on a ridgeline and fighting other true heavy tanks, which very often features that good overall armor protection, then more often than not, it really feels like a bad choice. This particular tank, which seems to feature a Centurion 7-1 turret together with the Emil II hull, could just as easily have been classified as a medium tank in my opinion, if it weren't for the awful hidden statistics that directly tells us otherwise. Because here, the hidden gun handling numbers together with the ground resistance are definitely nothing out of the ordinary and are some of the very worst. As I previously mentioned in the beginning of the video, then Wargaming has no incentive of making this tank overpowered, because it has enough reasons for being an interesting deal to begin with, due to the fact of being that very first tier 9 premium tank, its capability of earning bonds, brand new sci-fi 3D skin for 6000 gold or 12.5% cheaper for every chapter you complete in the Spirit of War, meaning as long as you complete 8 chapters you will get the style for free, and of course a complete Sabaton crew with a free 0 skill perk, together with various items like skill books, boosters. Yeah, there's a lot of various items. So personally what I did, I grinded this tank to 50% first 2 days, and I picked it up in the exact time to get the new sci-fi camouflage for free at the last day of the marathon. So personally, I have focused on making this versatile heavy tank playing more like a medium tank, because fighting other medium tanks seems definitely to be a valid option, as long as you do not rely on to out DPM your opponents. And if you're wondering why we had the Object 430 in the tank comparison, then it's because lately I was playing a couple games alongside one, and to be honest I was left with a strange and confusing feeling that the Soviet so-called medium tank has just superior armor in every way in comparison to my wannabe heavy tank. Because where the Object 430 is capable of YOLO into the battle, then the Strv K is definitely not capable, because in some way I just feel that this tank would be better classified as a medium tank, because you can under no circumstances trust the armor profile of either the hull, and most importantly you can't trust the turret. So therefore, at least for me, I would gladly have changed the classification to get not only rid of some of the horrible ground resistance figures, but to actually make this tank versatile in a good way when needed. Anyhow, back to the rating. So how many facepalms would I give the brand new Swedish tier 9 Strv K premium heavy tank? Well, it receives 2 facepalms. The thing is that in the end I had to make the decision whether this tank is below average or above average, which is the exact difference between 2 or 3 facepalms. And after playing with it quite intensively, then it definitely has a few things going for it, but then again it is facing competition from tier 9 tanks, which in my opinion is the best balanced tier in this game. Therefore, if it weren't for the reason that this tank was a premium tank, then I honestly have a load of other tier 9 tanks that I would any day prefer to take out to the battlefield. The plus side for whether I enjoy the tank or not is definitely its premium rounds that receives that nice shell velocity boost together with the high penetration value of 310, because not surprisingly enough, I find myself probably using them 50% of the times, sometimes more, sometimes less, all depending on the matchmaker and of course whether I remember to change the ammunition time in the heat of the battle or not. The Strv K is an okay tank, and whether you should pick it up from the premium shop, that is of course 100% your judgment to make. But personally, when this tank one day will reappear in the premium shop without the Sabaton crew and the 3D skin and all the crew books, credits and so on, then I honestly see no bigger point at picking it up, because the credit making seems to be suspiciously similar to tier 8 tanks, and if the selling point is the bonds, then why not just earn them in a mobile tier 10 that features at least a standard penetration of 268mm, which will make you rarely have the need of used gold ammunition. The thing is that as the tank has now become a part of my garage, then I do definitely see it being taken out on a weekly basis, because why not? But I'm also certain that after I've secured those bonds, then it will certainly be collecting dust until a new week will approach, simply because there are so many better tech tree and reward tank alternatives out there that are so much better and in the end way more enjoyable. Okay guys, let's finish up. I hope that this tank review was helpful towards your decision on whether you should pick up the Strv K premium tank next time you have the chance, and thanks a lot for watching guys. This was my tank review number 43. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know what you think of the Strv K heavy tank in the comments below. Did you pick one up, and what is your opinion of this tank? And as always, if you like to see more crazy content from my side, feel free to leave a like or even subscribe. It's a big thumbs up for me and I appreciate it a lot. Cheers guys, take care and see you next time.